Right, so with Halloween just around the corner, we're just going to do a really nice recipe using up pumpkin. So obviously these are going to be everywhere now. People are buying them to carve out for their Halloween lanterns and things. So when you're doing that, you can keep the flesh that's being scooped out from it. Obviously this is a whole piece, but by scooping it out, we get this beautiful flesh. So you have to do that anyway when you're carving them. So we can end up with a byproduct from that, which is going to make a beautiful soup that we're going to do. So I'm also going to show you later on, just by keeping the seeds as well, that you can toast those too. So Halloween, again, we've also got bonfire night coming up as well. So another nice tip, which you can have a look at the website as well at Love Food Hate Waste. You can do some toffee apples as well. So if you've got a bowl of apples that need to be used as well, you can just do a basic toffee sauce, which will be on the website, and then you can do your own toffee apples instead of buying them. So that's a really nice tip to do as well with that. Right, so we're going to get started. We're going to start building up the layers of our soup. So I'm going to show you the ways to do that. So we've got a pan on the heat. Always start with a nice warm pan. So we're going to get a little spoon of oil in there, about a dessert spoon. Okay, so we want to get that nice and warm. So into that, we're just going to dice up some onion. Okay, so you can keep your peelings, can either go in for your composting if you do that at home, or you can do a nice vegetable stock. Keep your bits and bobs of peelings and vegetables to do your own stocks with. Really fantastic. All we're going to do is rough chop all of this because we're going to be blending this at the end anyway. So we should have a nice little sizzle on that. Then into that we're going to use some carrot. If you've only got a little bit of carrot in the fridge, something like that, use it, put it into soup, because this one's not looking its absolute best, but it's going to go in there. I'm keeping the skin on because there's a lot of flavour in there, and all it's going to be done is blitzed up anyway, so we don't need to worry too much about that. Keep your ends, can go in stocks as well, or compost, whichever you do, but well worth keeping your veg peelings and things for that. It's definitely worth a go at. Get the most out of everything that you buy. If you've spent money on it, try and use it for everything possible. Carrot's going to go in here anyway because it's going to go with the colour of our pumpkin soup. So we'll get that diced through. Now I've just got the end of a celery here. If you've bought a head of celery and you end up with the root bit on the bottom, we're obviously going to keep all these bits are going to go into this soup perfectly. The root bit can be kept to go into stocks again. So again, just a rough slice, chop through. Keep that for stocks or into compost instead of into the bin. Get that in. So quick stir up to get it coated. Now at this stage I'm going to add in some flavourings. So I'm keeping this, I'm going to do it slightly spiced. But this is the base. Carrot, celery and onion are the most bases for soups and sauces, anything like that, so well worth remembering that. So dried herbs I've got here. These again are something that we tend to get rid of because of the best before date on them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with these. The best before date is just a manufacturer's guideline, okay? So they don't go off. You might just need to use a little bit more because they might have lost a bit of their potency. So by this, putting them in at the beginning with the oil, it means it's going to release their flavours. So that's a good time to use them. There's no point sprinkling dried herbs or dry spices in at the end of something. You won't get the benefit from them at all. So we'll get those in at this stage. And then I've just got a little bit of chilli. Now these chilli flakes are quite potent if you've got any at home. You can use a fresh chilli, but this is quite good. It means that you're not buying fresh ingredients if you've got some dried chilli. Just one pinch of those because they've got a good bit of heat to them. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of curry powder just to give this a bit of a kick. So about a teaspoon of that going in. Again, curry powders are something with the best before. You might just need to use maybe 2 teaspoons instead of 1 if it's gone quite a good bit past it. So we'll get that stirred through. Now on to dissecting our pumpkin. I've already started here. These bits can obviously go in for compost as well, the skin of it. But we're just going to take another slice off. Just be very careful when you're cutting these through. You may find your own way of doing that a little bit easier. I'm just going to scoop out the pips, but you probably would have already done that when you were scooping it out if you were making a lantern or something like that. I'm going to show you these pips in a moment, something that we can do with these. Don't waste those. So all we're going to do now is just take that off the skin, similar to doing a melon really. This one's fighting back. Okay, so just scoop all that off. You're obviously going to be, you will have done this at the beginning, which is quite good, but if you just want to buy some pumpkin to do this, then try and use as much of the flesh as possible. So good chop up, again just a rough chop, because it just wants to be softened and then it's going to be blended. Chop through. And then last piece. Don't worry if the odd pip gets in there, it won't do any harm. Right, good stir through. So that's our basis in now. There's good stuff in there. This is very healthy as well. You can use a little bit of cream or milk at the end of this if you want to. I think I'm going to keep mine just as is. So I'm just going to sprinkle in some vegetable stock now. A little bit more up there. And then all we're going to do is just top it up with water, just to cover the vegetables. And then we're just going to leave that just to simmer. So I'll give that a good stir through. I just want to add a bit of seasoning at that stage. That's just a salt and pepper mix, a good pinch of that. Perfect. So I'm just going to show you my seeds, which I have behind me. These are some that I've done earlier. So basically, the raw seed that we've got from the middle there, I would just want to give that a wash off, get the flesh off from it, okay? And then just pat them dry with a bit of paper towel. Now these have gone into the oven. So they've just been roasted on about 100 degrees. You want to just leave those in for a good sort of 40 minutes or so until they take on that beautiful toasty colour that they've got. You can add a little bit of seasoning over the top of those when they go in. You can maybe add a little bit more of your chilli or a bit of cumin, you know, make it almost like a little spicy snack. So as you can hear, these are lovely and dried out. So this is a beautiful little crunchy snack. Don't put spices on them. You could use them to top with granola or muesli, things like that. So these are expensive to buy normally. So if you can actually do these yourself, you've got a fantastic product there. So the soup, we're just going to leave this be to simmer. So you're looking at about 20-30 minutes on that, and then we're going to blend it. Right, so now we're getting back to our soup, which is now cooked down completely, so it's lovely and soft, so that needs to be blitzed. But I thought to start with, we might just quickly make some croutons to go with this. So this is a fantastic way of using up our bread. On other clips that we've done, we've mentioned the fact that thousands and thousands of slices of bread get wasted. So for using up these, you can do breadcrumbs, obviously. We've done a savoury bread and butter pudding before, which is on the website as well to look at. So, but with croutons, dead simple. These can just be kept for weeks and weeks as well, and they're expensive to buy. So if you can make them with stale bread, brilliant. So I've got a very hot pan on the back here, which I've just popped some oil into, and all we're gonna do is just cut the bread down into sort of centimetre cubes, but entirely up to you. You can do whatever you want to with this. So we're just going to get that straight into the oil. So these will have a good cook away while we blitz our soup up. So that's what you want to hear. You want to hear a nice sizzle. That bread's going to soak up all that oil and get nice and toasty and crunchy. We'll just throw a little bit of seasoning over the top of that. Just a little bit of salt and pepper. Okay, so we've got our pre-toasted seeds here as well, which you can see, which we're going to use on our soup. So let's get this blitzed up. So just into your blender. Just want to blend it till smooth. We don't need to sieve this afterwards because everything in here is lovely and soft, so we've got no firm herbs or anything like that, so this isn't going to need to be sieved, which is fantastic. So let's get all of that goodness in there and get that on the blend. So like I say, only go until it's smooth. Lovely colour on those. Right then, so beautiful colour on that soup. A lovely orange pumpkin. So I'm going to serve that straight in because it's hot. If you have done too much, because sometimes you can do a huge batch of soup if you've got, especially if you've got a big pumpkin as well. I'm going to show you just the storage. So into our takeaway containers. These are well worth getting. You don't have to spend a lot of money on them either. Just lid on and then straight into the freezer. What you need to remember is to label it. So we need to put on, we've got our pumpkin soup on here. Okay, so look at all our croutons. We've got a great big batch of those as well. Fantastic. Got our lovely soup here, really healthy, really good. So we'll sprinkle the top of that with some of our beautiful toasted seeds. So all this from a jack-o'-lantern. I think we're doing pretty well here. This is a good dish. So a little sprinkle of our croutons on the top. We've got starting to bulk it out as well. You're getting more of a meal here. This with another bit of crusty bread. So that's us. That's our lovely spiced pumpkin soup and our homemade croutons and our little toasted seeds.
Every year in Derbyshire we waste 63,000 tonnes of food, which is a big waste for the environment, and it also costs taxpayers £6.3 million to dispose of in landfill. When food goes into landfill, it rots and produces greenhouse gases, which is really bad for the environment and can cause climate change. So we need to reduce food waste by the tips that you've got today, or use our food waste collections if we have unavoidable food waste. So things like banana peelings can go into your food waste collection.